Well, good morning, everyone. The time is now 9:30. I will call the May 8th, 2018 meeting of the Millcreek Township Board of Supervisors to order. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on our agenda is public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. Would anyone like to address the board regarding today's agenda? Hearing none. Our next item is the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the April 17th, 2018 minutes?
Yeah, I'll move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Crowe?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is the approval of the bills. Is there a motion to approve the bills?
Yeah, I think we should pay some bills. I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Crowe?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is the first quarter financial report from Mark Krzyzewski, our treasurer. Mark, I will hand it off to you, sir.
Thank you. Hopefully this works better than the last one. I guarantee it will not be a half hour long. Okay, as promised, doing the first quarter of 2018 financial performance. The goal is always to try to do this in the month subsequent to the end of the quarter, and we would probably have done that on the 17th, but that meeting was already outrageously long, so we didn't want to bore people with extra financial information, so it got kicked back to earlier. In terms of, this is a comparison of actual revenues this year versus last year. Overall, we're about $750,000 behind where we were in 2017, and largely that's due to a slower collection rate on property taxes, $486,000, and then a slightly slower collection of other taxes of $143,000. So we're a little bit behind, but it's early, and all kinds of timing ends up into the first quarter, so it's really not a concern at this point. Property taxes, we generally collect about 98% of those any one year, so and then we get delinquent collections as well, so that's not a concern. And income taxes, they're right on track pretty much, and the other taxes, those are sometimes related to LST, they're related to real estate property tax, transfer taxes, and those are kind of cyclical. Yep. Whoop. And compared, the budgets year over year are pretty much so the same. I mean, the components of the budget are the same. That's what this slide shows. In terms of expenses, relatively speaking, they're all about the same as last year. We're actually running about $113,000 less in overall expenses this year versus last year, with the biggest portion of that being in the streets department at about $152,000 behind last year. There's no specific reason for that. It's just sometimes certain expenditures come at different times year over year. And the budget components, those are just a comparison of budget year over year. In terms of selected expenses, in the general government category, we're about $70,000 over budget. Now that's partially due to the fact that there were some retirements that happened in the first quarter, and those expenses are paid out then, but the budget assumes this expense gets spread over the entire year. I expect that to catch up by the end of the year, and we should be fine. Health insurance is running favorable, about $79,000. The other benefits are running favorable, in part because things like pension isn't paid until the fourth quarter. And then legal bills so far are running to the good, about $216,000. Public safety, salaries are behind budget, and that's good. I mean, we're under budget for the salaries. That's a portion of where there are some retirements that are going to be coming up, but they're towards the end of the year, and we haven't paid those yet, so they will get a little bit closer when it's all said and done. Health insurance so far is for the, this is essentially the police and dispatch, is running favorably, about $109,000. The other benefits is largely due to pensions, and the fire contributions, that's when they turn their reports in, they get their LST money, and if they don't turn their reports in, they don't get their payments. And that's partially due to the fact that this quarter ends, and by the time they get the reports in, they're actually going to be paid in the second quarter. So that should be caught up a little bit more. I know there have been a couple payments subsequent. Streets Department, we're running favorable on salaries to about $149,000. The other benefits largely due to pension. Health insurance is pretty tight there, but we've got stop loss, and if we ever do run into a major problem. And then snow removal expense, that's essentially salt. The budget assumes that's spent ratably over the year. That's not how you actually pay for the stuff. You pay for it in the fourth quarter and first quarter largely. And so we're a little bit behind budget, but by the end of the year, we should be fine. And that was despite the fact that we had a horrible winter. It was actually so cold that many times we couldn't even use salt. So, you know, the salt wasn't as big a deal as one might think, even with all the snow. Parks and Rec, everything's on a positive note there. And then we go to community development and other expenses. Recycling salaries are favorable. That's in part due to the fact that it's somewhat cyclical. We have part-time people that work at the recycling center in the summer months, and even when there's an equipment operator, when he's not working out there in the wintertime, which is the first quarter, he actually gets charged to the township because he deals with maintenance around here. And then streetlight expense is running slightly favorable, about $38,000. In terms of the capital plan, the budget was $5.571 million. We've committed about $1,204,000, and it means we've got about $4.4 million to go. First quarter is not a time when we try to spend a lot of money. A lot of projects are construction projects as well, paving, things like that. The 1.2 shows the commitment for the stone and the asphalt cement and things like that, along with some equipment that we have purchased so far. But for the most part, the contract paving, things like that, will be in the uncommitted. Those are going out to bid this week, I believe. So those roads have been identified. And so when we do the second quarter, these numbers should be a lot closer together. Any questions? Okay.
Any questions from the board? No. Thank you, Mark. Next on our agenda is bids and quotations. The first is the Erie Area Council of Governments Joint Purchasing Bid Results. Mr. Snyder?
Good morning, gentlemen. We received the final figures from the COG on our selected items that we get through them. At a previous meeting, we contracted with Gertz to furnish our crushed and washed number 57 stone. We forgot at that time to vote on the pickup price. So I would recommend that we amend our contract with Gertz to reflect the $8.50 a ton pickup cost.
Mr. Snyder, that doesn't change Gertz from being the low bidder, correct?
It does not.
Any questions from the board?
No? I'll move for that adjustment.
All right, there is a motion to accept Gertz at the hauling price of $8.50 per ton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Thanks for catching that, Gary. Next is a tree removal request.
I have several.
Oh, I apologize.
I'm sorry. The second item we have is for reclaiming and recycling roads. We received 2 bids through the COG for this. The first one is E.J. Brenneman for $11.25 per square yard for a total of $417,375 each. The second bid we had was from Keystone Stabilization for $7.60 a square yard for a total of $281,960. It would be my recommendation that we award the reclaiming to Keystone Stabilization for a total of $281,960.
Any questions from the board?
Nope. Nope. I'll move to approve that purchase or that contract with Keystone Stabilization.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes.
The next one is for engineering, for catch basins, frames and grates and risers. The 2x2 catch basin with frame and grate came out to $490.24 at each. The 2x3x3 with frame and grate catch basin was $642.57. The 2x3x3 riser was $80 each. The 2x3x6 riser, $90 each. The 2x3x12 riser was $90. And the 2x2x3 riser was $80. The township engineer recommended that we award this to Waterford Precast as the low and only bidder for the above listed cost.
Gary, are these for projects that we're doing this year?
Yes.
Okay, so we do have it on our list of things to do for the streets and engineering department,
Correct.
that these will be done.
We may be buying
purchased.
a few extra risers just in case we need them for
Okay.
when we pay it.
Okay,
But the catch basins are all for projects for this year.
okay.
Any further questions from the board?
I'll move to approve the purchase of the catch basins as listed there through Waterford Precast.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
The next item would be culvert and drainage pipe. For the 12-inch HDPE pipe, it comes out to $4 a linear foot. The 15-inch HDPE comes out to $5.65 a linear foot. And the 18-inch HDPE pipe comes out to $7.80 a linear foot. Township engineer recommends awarding the pipe to Advanced Drainage Systems. Locally, both Green and Chemung Supply are authorized dealers of the ADS pipe. I would recommend that be awarded to ADS pipe.
Okay,
Any questions?
for me. I'll move to approve the purchase for those items listed there to Advanced Drainage Systems.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes.
The next item I have is for the Parks and Recreation Department. It is for mulch that we use around the playgrounds. The low bidder was Playground Concepts of Western PA for $20.66 a square yard. I would recommend that the mulch be awarded to Playground Concepts of Western PA.
Of course, that is a special mulch for playground areas.
Exactly.
Non-toxic, cushioning for falls and stuff like that
Correct.
there. Okay.
Any further questions from the board?
Okay. I'll move to approve that purchase at the price listed there. That would be through Playground Concepts of Western Pennsylvania.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Mr. Groh?
Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes.
That's all for the cockpit.
All right, next item is tree removal request from Public Works Department. Mr. Snyder.
This would be for a request to remove 2 trees on Commodore Drive. There are several catch basins and pipes that go back. It's not really a wetlands, but it is a wet area. And these trees are in the way of the drainage pipe, and for us to be able to fix the problem with it that we have with the drainage pipe now. We received 2 bids. The first one from Leopold Tree Service for $550. The second one from Dibble Tree Service for $750. We phoned J. Thomas Tree Service to get a quote, and there was no response. It would be my recommendation that we award the job to Leopold Tree Service for $550 for the 2 tree removal.
Any questions from the board?
Not for me.
Is there a motion to approve Leopold Tree Service for the price of $550 for removal of the trees across from 4510 Commodore?
I'll move for that.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Mr. Groh?
Yes.
Mr. Buck?
Vote yes.
I vote yes.
The next item I have is for a sewer rehab emergency project. And this is on the 2 lines that go into our Columbia pump station. This last fall, we had some flooding in the Edgevale Drive area. Upon investigation, we found that there were 2 large root balls in 2 different sections of pipe. After getting the roots cut out, we decided that we needed to reline those 2 sections. First one would be 300 feet of 8-inch cured place liner for the cost of $11,160. And the second one would be Bladen Road going into the pump stations itself, 100 feet of 15-inch cured in place liner for the cost of $9,700. This will be done by under CoStar's contract number 16, with Insight Pipe being the ones to do the work for us. It would be my recommendation that we award that to Insight Pipe to do those 2 emergency repairs.
Okay.
Gary, this is funded through the sewer revenue fund and not the general fund, correct?
Correct, and there are monies in the budget for this type of repair.
Any further questions from the board?
None from me. I'll move to approve that.
All right, motion to approve contracting with Insight Pipe Contracting LLC for the discussed emergency maintenance project. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
The next item I have is a purchase of a utility trailer for the sewer revenue department, so they can haul their mini excavator and skid steer. We received 3 quotes. The first one being from Faven's Trailers for $7,345. Highway Equipment Company for $16,399. And the last one being from Boyer RV Center for $8,950. It would be my recommendation that we award the purchase of the trailer to Faven's Trailer for $7,345.
Any questions from the board?
Just a curiosity here, Gary. Did you actually look at these trailers, all 3 of them? Are they comparable?
Yes.
Okay.
They are.
I'm just looking at the price disparity between them. It's like it's all over the board on that one.
Right,
so,
it's
but-
it's strictly the supplier.
okay.
They're all 25,000
Yeah.
GVW. So they're all
Okay,
rated at
so
the
they're
same.
comparable equipment then, okay. Just curious.
I had a question. It says it's going to be used for hauling skid steer and mini excavator. How did we haul it before? Is this replacing an existing?
We were using one of the Parks and trailers.
Okay.
They loaned it to us last year, but of course, they're getting into their busy season, so they're going to need theirs. So that's how we did it late last year.
Okay, so this will get multiple uses out of it? I mean, it can transport other pieces of equipment as well, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I also note, Gary, this is actually, it's coming in over budget.
Yes, it is. We have monies that we saved in other places that will take up the difference in this. I'll have to give you those for
It's $845 above budget. just so
Right.
you know.
for a vote to move those funds around.
Okay.
All right. Well, with that, is there a motion to approve the purchase? And with that, motion to approve the capital budget to reflect an increase of $845 to this particular line and a reduction, I believe there's some cost savings. We do have a reserve line item in the capital budget now, Mark, from previous cost savings, correct?
Yes, but this is also in the sewer revenue fund. This is sewer trailer.
Is there a motion to approve the purchase then?
Yes, I'll move to approve that purchase to Fabin's Trailers.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Bunk?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Busy day for you, Gary. What else you got?
I have, in this section, one last item. This would be for buildings and grounds. The fence around the township gas well is in pretty tough shape. We've had a couple of trees fall on it. It's been up since the well has been put in place, and it just it needs to be replaced. We went out for quotes. We received 2 quotes, with the third company not responding. The first company, Keystone Fence Company, was $4,850. The second company, Erie Fence Cost, was $5,000. The third company we approached was Miller Brothers. They did not call back with a quote. So it would be my recommendation that we award the fence job to Keystone Fencing for the cost of $4,850.
Was this a budget expense, Gary, or is this an emergency project?
It was emergency. We had, previously I put in for having some trees removed, and one of them had actually, during the winter, had fallen over on the fence, so it needs to be replaced.
This fence is for security purposes?
Correct.
Okay.
It's not just a gas well. There's a tank there with, that produces oil, and it's
Yes.
captured, so we need something around it to secure it.
Okay, 6 foot, is there barbed wire around it too?
I don't
Or-
think Jerry put in for barbed wire just because of where
Just
it's
curious, I mean,
located.
yeah, for security, you never know, so, okay.
Well, I asked him his budget, because I'm curious where the $5,000 is going to be allocated from. It wasn't a budget expense, or was?
It's an emergency. I mean, that's when it happened. So according to when I talked with Mr. Berger, there was money saved on the purchase of the air conditioning unit for the roof, which should more than cover this. There again, I just have to get a letter wrote up for the transfer of funds.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the purchase of new fencing from Keystone Fence?
Yes, I'll move to approve that purchase with Keystone Fence at $4,850.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
I vote yes, and just again noting that we'll need capital budget amendments for our next meeting to reflect these changes. Next, pump repair at the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center from the Parks and Recreation Department.
Oh, yes. This comes from Ashley Marsteller. This is in reference to the irrigation system at the Millcreek Golf and Learning Center, which is under construction and modification right now. It was discovered recently that it needs some work for some pumps. I believe there were 2 of them. This all transpired right before I left on vacation the week before. Mark, you know a little bit about this. Am I understanding there's 2 pumps that need to be repaired?
Yeah, this pump system essentially has been shut down for a number of years, and in the process of trying to get it back up and going, it was discovered that I think there's 3 pumps in total. 2 of the pumps were need to be, I think, either redone or replaced, and then the sensor system that enables the system to run automatically, that sensor needs to be replaced, and some miscellaneous other kind of maintenance stuff that, had the unit been running, throughout time, those would have been done over time. So it's necessary in order to enable the contractor to begin the growing phase once he gets to that stage, so that they have water to water the seed that'll be planted. So it's important to get done.
Yeah, without that, the golf course project will not continue. They need the irrigation to get the grass to grow and so on. Anyway, the quote we got from Irrigation Technical Services from Valencia, Pennsylvania, calls for a total price on the quote of $8,847. And that seems to be the only one we could get this done with. Don't know where the money's going to come from, but I think we're going to have to look at some budget terms there on how we can get that money from another item in that department, from the Parks Department. So I think we have spent all the money, or we're pretty close to, we've budgeted for the golf course between the grants and everything. So this is an unforeseen expense. I hope it's the only one that we have.
Well, there was a follow-up email from Ms. Marsteller
Yep.
suggesting, we do have a line item in our budget
Yep.
regarding the cross field for MYAA.
Yes.
And from previous discussions with their board, it seems that project may not be moving forward
I think you're
this
right.
year.
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any further discussion on that, or how the board feels about reallocating $9,000 from that line to cover these costs.
Yeah, I'm in agreement on that, John. I think that's where we need to take the money from. Sadly for the NYA, they're still not sure what they're going to do with that lacrosse field. So in the meantime, we need, this is a project that is of urgency to get this other thing going, this golf course going again, so.
Well, then, in that case, is there a motion to approve the contract with Irrigation Technical Services at a cost of $8,847.18, and to amend the capital budget to reflect those funds being reallocated from the existing MYAA line item?
Yes, I will move on both of those.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 2018-R18, a resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015-R20 and the Municipal Records Manual to approve proposed disposition of certain township records. And the records we are disposing of today are administrative records submitted by Ms. Gail Jers, and also our routine disposition of dash cam videos once they reach the retention period date from May 8th. Those videos that will be reaching their retention date from today until May 22nd. Any questions or comments from the board?
One for me.
Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2018-R18?
Yeah, I'll move to approve Resolution 2018-R18.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grote?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is the PG 64-22 Petroleum Asphalt Cement Contract Amendment. Mr. Snyder or Mr. Shaw, would either of you like to comment on this item?
You want to take it or you want me to?
You can if you want.
Okay. We recently learned that when we were doing our mix design for the asphalt this year, that the PennDOT no longer allows what they call a hot mix design. That is, the asphalt oil gets heated up to about 325 degrees. The new design calls for warm mix, according to PennDOT. That is substantially less heat put into it, supposedly for the health of the operators and paver. We had to talk with the Russell Standard, who was our only bidder on this, and there is an additive that can be put in at the refiner. But it is an extra cost of $15 a ton. The original price for the old contract total would have been $614,900. With this new additive and cost, it will take it up to $633,650. It's basically $15 a ton more to have the additive put in. There are several ways that it can be done, but for our plant, the only way it can be done is to have the additive put in at the refinery. That cost was told to us by Russell Standard. We have a amendment to the contract with Mr. Shaw wrote up. It is in Russell Standard's hands, but we still need to act on it also. So it would be my recommendation that we amend the contract to reflect those costs.
Okay.
Gary and Mark, does this change, but it's still within what we budgeted for as far as liquid fuels dollars being allocated towards our asphalt production? Or is this going to require an amendment from general funds to cover the additional costs?
Well, this is all liquid fuels money.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how that.
I think we're okay. I don't remember what we had specifically for street paving versus contract paving. Not in front of me. I don't think it's going to require anything, though. Because the other variable in this, too, is that oil prices are changing, and that is oil.
And they're
so-
going up right now, so
So-
to speak. Yep, right now. Yep.
Any further questions from the board?
Come for me.
No.
Is there a motion to approve the amendment of the agreement between the Millcreek Township and Russell Standard Corporation for the PG 24-22 petroleum asphalt cement?
Yes, I'll move for that amendment.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes.
Mr. Ball?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is PennDOT reimbursement agreement regarding Cherry Street paving project. Gentlemen, as you're aware, Mr. Snyder and Mr. Waldinger have been, their departments have been working on identifying potential projects for us to submit to your Metropolitan Planning Organization for consideration for federal dollars to pay for certain local roadway projects. Mr. Waldinger and I have been advocating to that board since I want to say last July to try and shake some funds loose from this federal line item. Last month, we presented to that board again, and we're given pretty much the green light from PennDOT to proceed with this project. And we anticipate an award of, I think, $206,000 to go towards the milling and repaving of Cherry Street, which is just shy of a mile of roadway to help supplement our paving program. Before us is a reimbursement grant agreement with PennDOT for the terms regarding those funds. Mr. Waldinger and Mr. Shaw both reviewed the document, are comfortable with the language, and we just need to take a vote to approve this agreement so we can proceed with the project. Is that a fair assessment, Mr. Waldinger?
Yeah, that covers it.
Any questions from the board?
None for me. I think it's a great idea.
All right, is there a motion to approve the PennDOT reimbursement agreement for the Cherry Street resurfacing project?
Yes, I will move for that.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Mr. Groh?
Yes.
Mr. Bosch?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda is the financial security release requests. The first is from Waldemere Park and Water World, Paul Nelson developer. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Good morning. We received a letter from Waldemere Park and Water World requesting release of their financial security for their land development plan for their expansion. The only remaining item was the installation of planting islands and trees according to their amended land development plan. They notified us a couple weeks ago that those items were complete. They were inspected by the engineering department and found to be so. As such, Township Engineer Ann Sokol recommends the release of PNC letter of credit 18122445 in the remaining amount of $52,310. That be released by the township as the work is complete.
Any questions from the board? Well, Matt, I want to actually commend you and your team for leading the negotiations on this effort. I know this has been a bit of a contentious issue. And I want you to know I appreciate the work you guys did to resolve this. Mr. Nelson, we appreciate Mr. Nelson working with us as well to get this issue resolved. As previously noted, that under our previous ordinances, the requirement for tree plantings were not included. So we appreciate Mr. Nelson working with us to green up that parking lot a little bit, and appreciate your work in helping to resolve those issues. So,
Thank you.
is there a motion to approve the financial security release?
Yes, I'll move for that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next is IHOP, West 12th Street. Scott's Development Company is the developer. Mr. Walden.
Thank you. We received a letter from Scott Enterprises asking for release of their financial security for their land development for the IHOP restaurant on West 12th Street. We have approval of the stormwater management system from our contracted third-party engineering firm, Greenman Peterson Incorporated. All other items that are required have been complete. So Township Engineer Ann Sokol recommends that the cash escrow security that Scott's has provided in the amount of $116,166 be released.
Any questions from the board?
Me.
Is there a motion to approve the financial security release request from IHOP?
Yeah, I'll move on that one.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is sidewalk deferral agreement request, DJC Associates, for 2523 Loveland Avenue. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. DJC Associates has requested a sidewalk deferral for their land development plan for an expansion of their dental office. That's at the northeast corner of West 26th Street in Loveland, right down the street here. There are no existing sidewalks on either West 26th Street or Loveland Avenue at this time. They have asked for the deferral until such time as sidewalks are constructed in the area, and then they will do their construction.
Mr. Waldinger, as this has come up before, are we at least requiring to delineate where sidewalks would go on the land development plan?
Yes, the sidewalks are shown on the land development plan. They're just asking for a deferral of construction.
Any further questions from the board?
None for me.
No.
Is there a motion to approve the sidewalk deferral agreement request from DJC Associates?
Yes, I'll move on that action.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Mr. Grove?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is stormwater maintenance plan and agreement request from DJC Associates. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. This is also for the same project, the expansion of the dental office at 26th and Loveland. DJC Associates has their stormwater management plan approved by Township Project Engineer Emma George. They have completed the stormwater maintenance agreement on our required form and signed and notarized the same. So the Township Engineering Department recommends that this be approved, both the plan and the agreement.
Okay.
Any questions from the board? Is there a motion to approve the stormwater maintenance agreement and plan?
Yes, I'll move on both of those actions.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next on our agenda is memorandum of understanding for multi-municipal collaboration with the City of Erie, Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority grant application. Gentlemen, you recall, I believe it was last month, City of Erie Mayor Schember invited us to attend a presentation of the National Development Council, which is a nationally recognized nonprofit corporation that works with municipalities on economic development initiatives, creative financing mechanisms, zoning, general municipal services. Myself, Mr. Bach, and Mr. Waldinger attended that presentation in the mayor's office. And as a follow-up, Mayor Schember's administration has identified a grant opportunity with the Gaming Revenue Authority to actually move forward with joint training for the city's administrative staff and our staff related to economic development initiatives, and learn a little more about the National Development Council and possibly identifying projects for further municipal collaboration between ourselves and the City of Erie. I know through our Embrace Millcreek plan, we've been talking a lot about getting more involved in economic development in the region, being stronger partners with our municipal neighbors, and fostering some stronger collaboration with the City of Erie. I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to proceed, putting maybe our toe in the water to see how we can better work with the City of Erie. What you have before you is a memorandum of understanding, which is a requirement of the ECRA grant, basically stating our commitment to work with the City of Erie, and also sets a maximum contribution of match at $5,000. This 4-day seminar and training is about a $20,000 cost. The ECRA grant would cover 50% of those costs, and we would split the match with the City of Erie. City of Erie would be the primary contractor, we'd be a subcontractor to it, and this $5,000 reflects our contribution for that contracted price. Any questions from the board?
No, sir. This will be held locally here, right?
Absolutely,
Bringing
yes.
that in here and into Erie, so.
Well, and further, we had a further conversation with the NDC, and that this would be also open to developers or financial institutions that we choose to invite. We have a very active focus group for Embrace Millcreek of local developers that we would likely invite to attend, to work with Mr. Waldinger.
Right.
Really just enhance really the capacities and capabilities of our staff and local developers and financial institutions through this training.
Yeah.
Do you have any further comments on it, Mr. Waldinger? Or?
No, other than I do think it'll be a good opportunity to, like Mr. Morgan said, expand our capacity to realize how some of these deals are financed and put together, and what the township can do to kind of help economic development in the township.
Right. As we know, right, economic development is more of a regional matter, and here's probably, I think it's a great step in the right direction. We haven't had this, and I think it's probably just the first thing of many other good things that are going to happen between Millcreek and the city. And by no means anybody should read that as far as a merger. Please don't take it that way. It's just a matter of working together. And I think there's a great opportunity for that. You watch, somebody's going to say, Rose talking about merging. No, that's not the case.
That's not the case, but this is, I think, with the new administration in place, we've been able to work much more closely with the City of Erie on these kind of opportunities. And really, it's all about identifying opportunities that are mutually beneficial to both the municipalities. And in discussions with them, we really feel this is one of those opportunities where we can share some of the cost burdens and both get a benefit for our staff, and help advance both of our comprehensive plans. So, that grant is due, I believe, June 1st. The city will be submitting that grant, and again, this is just our agreement to work with them on that grant.
Good idea.
All right, is there a motion to approve the MOU with the city for multiple municipal collaboration?
Yes, I will move on that.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes.
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next is the April building construction report. Mr. Groh.
Okay, in the month of April, under the residential aspect of our building report, we had a total construction value for permits of $107,000 of construction value, as I said. And then under the commercial aspect of it, total of $848,920, giving us a grand total of $955,920 total construction value for the month of April. Zoning permit fees that were gathered from all of that was $2,700. So copies of this are available, I think online later this week they will be. Paper copies are available in the zoning department upstairs here on the second floor.
Thank you, Mr. Groh. Next is communications. Mr. Jakszewski, anything to report today?
Yes, I would, when LECOM, before the pilots were assigned, they paid their real estate taxes under protest. And under law, we had to reserve a portion of those in a separate account. Now that that is settled, I would like to close that account and transfer those funds back into the general fund. And I'm just seeking permission to close the Erie Bank account for the LECOM real estate tax protest.
We're confident that that's a closed issue. I know there was some communication with LECOM about the final calculation that's been resolved.
I haven't heard anything further from them since first part of April, and we paid them their final payment on the 20th of April.
Any questions from the board?
Nope, none for me.
Is there a motion to direct the treasurer to close the account and transfer those funds to the general fund?
Yes, I'll move.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Well, actually, I guess that's a pretty specific item that isn't listed on the agenda. Any questions from the public regarding this motion? All right, Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
How about yes?
And I vote yes. Next is summer season staff approval request from the Parks and Recreation Department.
Yes, this comes from Ashley Marsteller, Director of Parks. Employee approval, she'd like to have the following employees approved for the summer season 2018. Payroll for seasonal employees is included in the department budget for this year. I'll go through the whole list. John Bucci for summer maintenance at $13 an hour. Eric Noara for the golf course at $13. Tom Hansen at $10 for summer maintenance. Josh Puda, $7.95 per hour. Garrett Clark, Thomas Rosenthal, pardon me, Steve Tome, and Luigi Yates. Those 5 names there at $7.95 an hour, effective Wednesday, effective tomorrow is their starting date. So I put on form of a motion for those seasonal hires to hire those as listed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All right, Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Okay.
Next is a travel request from the Recycling Department.
Yes, this comes from the Recycling Department requesting permission for a Recycling Department employee to attend the PROPS, which is the acronym for Professional Recyclers of Pennsylvania Continuing Education class. It's Prop 101, establishing and enhancing a recycling program. Prop 430, which is buying and using recycled waste and reduction reuse. And Prop 985, zero waste. These are going to be held at the Center County Refuse and Recycling Authority in Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. Starts Wednesday, and it's Wednesday and Thursday this week. It's 2 full days of classes. Requesting 2-night stay at a hotel will be necessary. Requesting use of a township vehicle. Of course, we have the recycling department vehicle. The cost of the classes and travel were approved in the recycling budget. Cost of class and the hotel is $700. Put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Any comments? All right, Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next is the Millcreek Mall licensing agreement approval from the recycling coordinator.
Yes. Okay. Give me a second here. This I did not get a chance to review. I remember talking about this with her before. This comes from Jessica Stutzman in our recycling department. She will be attending Widget Wednesday at the Millcreek Mall on June the 6th to provide their group with their lesson on recycling. The attached are forms that need to be filled out and signed. This is authorizing her to go and using the licensing of that. Let's see here. So this is a license agreement between the township and the Cafaro Corporation which owns and operates the Millcreek Mall. So this is part of a recycling education effort that Jessica does in her outreach. So I put that in a form of a motion for her approval to attend that on Wednesday, June the 6th.
I would note that this is for no charge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, no charge.
This agreement is for us to certify that we do have liability insurance and property insurance. Is that what this is? Right? The agreement is to verify that we have liability insurance?
I think that's one of the parts of the agreement. I believe this is their standard agreement. I vaguely recall, I think us doing this last year. Mark, I assume that the coverages they require we have?
Yes, and we've supplied a certificate of insurance for, I sent it off to Jesse to include with the package.
Okay.
Any further questions from the board?
None from me.
Is there a motion to approve the Millcreek Mall licensing agreement? Is there a motion to approve
Yeah.
the agreement?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll move to approve that.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next, we have a training and meeting request. Mr. Groh?
Can I move back one there, John? Milford Tire.
Oh, I
Recycling?
apologize, yeah.
No problem there, yeah. This comes from Recycling Department. This is something that hopefully the press will get out there to the residents here. On Saturday, May 19th and Sunday, May the 20th, from 9 a.m. to 12, out at the Recycling Center, we'll be accepting paper for shredding and also tires for recycling. There is a fee for the tires. It's $3 per tire, or it's $5 if there's a rim still attached with it. It's for automobile and light truck tires only. A limit of 8 tires per household. This is a great way of getting rid of the tires in the proper fashion. And then for paper shredding, you're allowed to have up to 5 2 by 3 foot boxes or equivalent in bags. Paper clips and staples do not need to be removed. It's residential shredding only. Businesses must make other arrangements with their professional shredders. Sensitive documents will be collected on site and shredded immediately off premises following the event. This is a great opportunity to get rid of old papers that you don't want that may have sensitive information on it. And I think a 2 by 3, that's like a banker box size, am I correct? Is that about the size of it there? So you're allowed up to 5 of them. So this is a great way to get rid of some stuff that you don't need anymore. So that is, once again, Saturday, May 19th and Sunday, May 20th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Millfair Recycling Center. And this is available for Millcreek and Fairview residents. So I just want to announce that there.
Okay, thank you, John. Next is a training and meeting request.
Yeah.
Mr. Groh?
Okay. First one, this comes from me. I'm requesting permission to attend the stormwater management class next Tuesday, and it'll be at the Tom Ridge Center. Cost for it is $20. That's put on by the Lawrence County Department of Planning and Community Development. Stormwater training is presented by the Center for Watershed Protection. And this course is on May 15th, as I mentioned, at Trek. MS4 is the focus of this. And how to do those inspections. Of course, MS4 is a big thing that we're really dealing with here in the township. And the more information I can gain from that, the better off. So I put that in the form of a request to attend that class. It's all day from 9 until 4.
Mr. Groh, are there any additional staff you think?
I'd asked the other staff. I asked the engineering department, and they were not available to go. I asked Ann Sokol, Matt, and asked him about it, and of course Emma George, and they were not available to go. They have other commitments. So.
Registration fee is $20?
$20, yeah. It's pretty cheap for an all-day class. So. Anyway.
Is there a motion to approve? Any questions? No? Is there a motion to approve the request?
Yeah, I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Okay, and then also I have one here from me to the board. Meeting attendance in Harrisburg. As you guys know, I serve on the Accessibility Advisory Board. Pursuant to my duties as supervisor and as a municipal representative to the PA Department of Labor and Industry Accessibility Board, I request authorization to attend the meeting scheduled for Thursday, May 17th in Harrisburg. All travel and lodging expenses are covered by the Commonwealth. So I put that in the form of a motion to attend that meeting.
Any questions? All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Grove?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
And I think that's all I have there. Yeah, I think that's all. Yep, that's it. I will have something when we come back around, if we're citizens to be heard, two things actually. Got a proclamation and just a further comments about something.
Okay, next is part-time staff approval request. This comes from Human Resource Office. We have several. The first is from the police department. This would be for the hiring of a part-time police dispatcher by the name of Benjamin Steiner at a rate of $11.33 per hour. Start date would be April 30th. This would be a retroactive start date. Ben's hire is contingent upon successful completion of drug and criminal screening, currently in progress. Any questions or comments from the board?
One for me.
Is there a motion to approve the hiring of Benjamin Steiner as a part-time police dispatcher?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next item is regarding seasonal hires for the Sewer Bureau. These are returning seasonal hires. The first would be Jacob Olette at a rate of $8.45 per hour. He's in his third season with us. Start date of May 14th, 2018. And the other individual is Nicholas Langford Tyler, also sewer seasonal help at a rate of $7.95 per hour. He's in his second season with us. His start date would be May 15th, 2018. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Snyder? Is there a motion to approve the hiring of Jacob Olette and Nicholas Langford Tyler as seasonal Sewer Bureau help?
Yes, I'll move to approve both hirings.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
I vote yes.
And I vote yes. Next is seasonal help for the Planning and Development Department. This is Mr. Brandon Hoskins, as we brought in as seasonal help for Planning and Development in his first season with the township at a rate of $7.65. Start on May 10th, 2018. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, this is seasonal through, August, end of August? Is that how that's going to be?
Yeah, he would be summer help through
Summer help.
his
then,
summer
okay.
break. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Any further questions? Is there a motion to approve the hiring of Brandon Hoskins as seasonal help in the Planning and Development Department?
Yes, I'll move.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Next is executive sessions. I report to those in attendance that we did hold an executive session on May 3rd, 2018 to discuss various legal and personnel matters with our solicitor and executive team. And also, I want to make note, please watch your mailboxes for next week or the week after. The In Millcreek magazine will be coming out to everyone, and it'll be announcing really the debut of the Embrace Millcreek Comprehensive Plan. It's an effort we've been working on with our planning commission, our consulting agency, our staff here, and various stakeholders throughout the community. We do have a draft plan that will be out and available. We're going to have a public meeting on May 24th at McDowell Intermediate School from 6 to 8 p.m. to roll out the plan. We intend to have the document available online earlier that week on, I believe, May 21st is our target date to get that available online to the public. But there is a brief overview of the document in this month's issue of In Millcreek magazine. Please check it out. Also, please visit embracemillcreek.com for more information on the plan. And we hope to see everyone out there on May 24th for a healthy public discussion on what we've come up with for the future of Millcreek. Next is the Cato Scholarship Dinner and also special report from Mr. Bach.
Am I covering the dinner as well?
Absolutely.
Okay. That is just to notify everyone that the Cato Scholarship Dinner will be held May 24th, I believe, in Girard, PA. And that is to acknowledge our 3 scholarship winners. There we received over 30 applications, I believe, for the award. I had the honor and privilege of sitting on the scholarship committee along with Mary Jo Campbell from Washington Township and Bob Soltis from Millcreek Township. And all applicants were very deserving. It was very hard to pick 3 students out of that pool. We had a lot of debate. It was a lot of fun. And after sitting down, discussing, reviewing all the applications, all were deserving. But I just wanted to acknowledge that Lily Hanko, our student ambassador, sitting to my left, was one of the recipients of one of the scholarships. And I believe this is her last official meeting of the year before she heads onto her summer break and eventually onto her next phase in college. So just wanted to acknowledge that for Lily.
Congratulations, Lynn.
Congratulations. Yes.
And did I need to submit approval or request for attendance at this dinner? Okay. I believe we have, I don't have that in front of me.
It's $26 per person, and we'll be sending 5 representatives of the township to attend the dinner.
Okay. Just wanted to request the 5 representatives from the township attend that at $26 per person.
Is that a motion?
I will put that in the form of a motion, sir.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Mr. Groh?
Yes?
Mr. Bach?
Yes.
And I vote yes. And that leads us to Lily's last student ambassador report.
Yes, and as this is my last meeting, I would just like to thank everyone I've worked with, Mr. Zacheski, Mr. Groh, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Bach, Ms. Williams, Mr. Shaw. I just have had a really great opportunity, and this has been such a great experience to see how this works and all the inner workings and meet so many awesome individuals. So I would like to thank you all personally for this opportunity.
Thank you. Don't forget to thank your counselors, too.
Of
Because
course.
they're part of this, too, okay?
Ms. Macheski, Ms. Myers, and Mrs. Means all helped put this together, so
Right,
thank you.
yeah, it's a joint effort between
Yes.
us there, yes.
This week and in the next few weeks, McDowell students are preparing and taking their AP tests. Last night, the McDowell girls softball team defeated the 2-time defending state champions Hempfield by a score of 6-1. And tonight is McDowell boys volleyball last home game and senior night. Also, last week, 2 McDowell juniors were honored at the American Chemical Society's awards banquet for being 2 of the top 5 scorers in the region on the 2018 Chemistry Olympiad competition. And McDowell had 11 students placed in the top 20. And finally, our McDowell Academic Challenge team finished their season as state finalists in the state competition at Harrisburg in the state capitol and the House of Representatives. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lily.
Great news for McDowell.
Next is solicitor communications. Any good news today, Mark?
Nothing further to add.
No news is good news. All right. April right to know report. Cheryl?
Yes, in the month of April, we
Busy.
received 7 requests. 3 were granted, 2 were denied, 1 was withdrawn, and 1 is pending, given that we needed a 30-day extension because it was so extensive. We compiled 33 records to be distributed at a cost of $117.57 for duplication, but that will all be reimbursed to the township. And 18 hours of preparation.
Okay.
Thank you, Cheryl. Next is the Arbor Day proclamation, and I think we need to kind of apologize for this one. I know Arbor Day has passed already, but our meeting schedule gets a little messed up in April due to the PSATS conferences. So I think we are just now issuing our annual Arbor Day proclamation. I guess, Mr. Groh, would you do the honors?
Yes, yeah, we have to do this so that we're recognized as Tree City.
No, we want to do this, John.
Okay, we want to do this. Okay, how's that sound? But it's a requirement to keep our Tree City certification, okay? Anyway, I'll go through all the whereases. Whereas in 1872, Sterling Morton proposed the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees. And the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1,000,000 trees in Nebraska. Arbor Day is not observed throughout the nation and world, and the trees can reduce the erosion of our precious soil, topsoil by wind and water, and lowering our heating and cooling costs. and moderate temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community, and whereas trees, whatever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, the Board of Supervisors, John Morgan, Jim Bach, and John Grow, hereto I proclaim April 25th as Arbor Day in Millcreek Township, and we urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support the efforts of protecting our trees and woodlands. We urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. And it'll be dated today, post-dated. So. Anyway.
Thank you, Mr. Grow.
Okay. I did have something else to add there. I told you when we come back around.
Oh, okay.
Two little things here.
We can do other business, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry there. Also in the line of graduation, we had a student intern working up in the engineering department, Eric Marks, who was a senior at Edinburgh University, pursuing a degree in geology. He is finishing up his internship and graduates, I think, Saturday coming up here at Edinburgh University. So we wish him the best. He's been a great intern working here at Millcreek, and I'm just happy that we have these internships available through the high school and for the college students that wish to work here. So the other thing is, and I'm sure Jim and John have been getting lots of calls and other people about our streets conditions. And yes, we do know that there are potholes out there. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. We know that we have seen them. Sadly, we've hit them too. We have patch crews out there, correct, Gary? 3 patch crews out there patching, and there are so many holes out there. It's hard to tell if we're making progress, but we are making. There's just that many holes out there. It's been a rough winter. Don't need to say that. You look at parking lots that are bad shape, private parking lots. A runway. When I landed in Philadelphia on late Saturday night, I thought we hit a pothole in there as a plane hit coming down. It's where it broke off one of the wheels. But anyway, it's just been a rough winter. Just something to think about here, folks. John, you mentioned the cost for the Cherry Street, for the $206,000 to mill and resurface.
That's for about 3/4 of a mile.
3/4 of a mile. We have 210 miles of township maintained roads. And we pave, repave, whatever we can do, about 11 miles each year. It's a hard thing to get ahead of. I'd like to say catch up, but just even get ahead of. There is a way of fixing this problem, and that is just an increased budget for the streets. And it's something to think about, or do we want to chop something else out of Millcreek Township as far as the budget? People demand good streets, and I understand. I like to ride on smooth streets. I drive a car, I drive a motorcycle. I like to make sure I'm not getting jarred around on it. So I do ask for patience from the public. We are working on it. We are aware of the situation out there, and we are slowly working at it. It's just there's that much out there. So I just wanted to make that out there for the public. I hope that they will take that information and be patient with us, but I'm sure it'll probably garner some phone calls or emails too. So thanks for letting me add that. That's all. Thanks.
And gentlemen, I actually have one other item under communications. I know that there's been some discussions about liaisonships to our various commissions. At the beginning of the year, we do kind of formally adopt a liaisonship and roles and responsibilities for each supervisor. My understanding is Mr. Bach, Mr. Grow, there's been discussions about perhaps appointing Mr. Grow as a liaison to the Fire and Emergency Services Commission and appointing Mr. Grow as the Parks and Rec Commission. You guys were discussing about swapping those two responsibilities.
Yeah, because originally we started out, I was a fire commission, just to get, with Jim working on it. And Jim, you're comfortable with taking over on that, and I'll move back over to Parks. So
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
You're excited
I
about
enjoy a challenge.
All right, well, with that, I'll make a motion to amend the organizational chart or listing to appoint Mr. Bach as the board's liaison to the Fire Emergency Management Commission and appoint Mr. Grow to our liaison to the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Yes.
I'll make that as a motion. Is there a second?
Yep, I'll second that.
Any questions or comments from the audience? This is not an agenda item. All right. Mr. Groh?
I vote yes.
Mr. Buck?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Now, citizens to be heard. Would anyone like to address the board regarding issues in the township or concerns that you might have? Sir, if you wouldn't mind stepping up to the podium and giving us your name and address.
My name is Dennis McAndrew. I live at 1547 High Street. Kind of tying to some of what you're talking about. I'm a big believer in learning from history, and sins of the past sometimes seem to come forward in Millcreek quite a bit. You're just talking about the roads and the condition. Some of it, I think, you've had in the past, even in my neighborhood, which is an older neighborhood, probably 1960s established.
High Street, you said it was?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
And you've had over, and I've lived there for 20 plus years.
Okay.
And over the years, there's been development over by Kearsarge and stuff in another area. But you've had sections of the roads where, probably, like when I first moved in, I found a storm sewer in my front yard that Millcreek denied existed. And I think some of your problems in the roads and stuff where you have willy-nilly ditches that were filled, things, that have contributed to the condition. So, I mean, I think that's part of the problem is the sins of the past. And it seems like just within a few years ago, Green Garden in High, there was a huge ditch that was filled in.
Yep.
And storm sewer put in improperly, I think, the grates and stuff, because if you walk down, it's no longer a washboard, but if you walk down that street, which I walk the neighborhood quite a bit,
Okay.
your storm, because of the angle of the hill, are filled in, and they're ineffective, and now the street's heaving again. I don't know if that's an engineering problem.
You're saying the actual catch basins are filled in?
The storm sewer, yeah.
The catch basin.
And, I don't know the maintenance budget, but I think I have, like I said, the storm sewer in my front yard.
Yeah.
And I've taken over 20-some years pains to taper the road, because my house is lower than the road after years and years of being built up.
Right.
My front yard is 2 feet lower, so I've made a nice swale, made it all drain in, I clean it out, cleaned leaves.
Yeah.
I take care of it because the township denies it exists.
Okay.
Green Garden, on the other hand, was just recently done within, of course, it seems like it was just done, but who knows, it might have been 5 years, but to me it just seemed like it was done yesterday. Who should be maintaining that? The township, the homeowner? I mean, because I'm a big believer in, ounce prevention, save yourself a fortune later.
That's right.
And maybe a program needs to be thought of. Okay, let's clean out these storm sewers now before the problems get out of control.
Right. Well, I can say this, sir, that the township has taken a rather aggressive approach in the last several years. It is going to be catching up on these things. And by no means am I trying to throw former supervisors under the bus. We did what we did at the time. Yeah, I understand, and I appreciate that. We did what we did with what we had at the time. Much of it seemed like it was probably a Band-Aid approach when it needed more than a Band-Aid. Sometimes it needed a tourniquet. So we have these things that we are trying to fix. We look at many of our roads. I think, although I'm not an engineer, it seems that we have some bad bases, base to pave over. All we did was take a dirt road and throw some asphalt over it and call it finished. Drainage is a big problem. We have several streets that drainage is causing the undermining of it. And then, of course, you get the buckling and everything. And, I don't need to get into the science of that. I think everybody knows that.
Right,
and,
I'm just saying, that was the sins of the past, but this road was recently, the ditch was filled in, some storm sewer grates put in.
Right.
And it worked briefly.
Okay.
And now the road's buckling because I think a simple maintenance issue wasn't.
Right. It's very much like a house. If you have a bad roof.
Car.
Yeah, or your car. Let the thing run down on oil, you're going to end up with an engine problem. you need a roof on your house, you're gonna have bigger problems if you don't put that roof
Right.
on there.
And that's what I'm saying, or thinking,
Yeah.
is sometimes a township, with your limited budget, and it seems counterintuitive, but maybe sometimes addressing the issue or who, before it becomes more expensive.
Well,
Exactly.
sir, I guess my question is, so you're saying that the water is not flowing through the catch basin? You're saying it's collecting, that's what's,
Green Garden is, like you, was a dirt road, tarred and chipped. There was literally a car a few years, there again, my time frame, a car slid into the ditch years ago on
Oh.
Green Garden.
Okay,
The ditch was so deep, the guy had to climb out of his car, open the door, the car disappeared into the ditch.
whoa,
It was pulled out with a wrecker, and then the following year, the ditch was filled in.
okay,
And I'm talking Green Garden between Grandview and High Street.
Okay.
The house that's there is, it's like a cliff. And you guys filled it in, and there's storm drains there.
okay.
The road being loose gravel or whatever, is basically filled in your storm drains. And so when it rains and stuff, it runs down, like, it's like a mini flash flood.
Yeah.
Gary,
And
you make a note of that?
grates, because of the angle of the hill or whatever, they don't stand a chance.
you make a note of that, Gary?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go take a look
You
at
send a
it.
crew to take a look at that and see how we can.
Another example of that is in Summit Township on Cherry Street Extension, past where they just recently had some accidents. As you go up Cherry Street's very steep. And they installed, because of that huge subdivision and stuff, grates and stuff, they actually had to take and put like asphalt, like a dam to keep
Yeah.
the water, to go actually into their storm drains because it's such a steep angle.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that might have been the contributing factor. My question or thought is the maintenance issue.
Right.
May help.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. If it's a municipally installed, I can't speak to your question about this. If it's actually in your property, sounds like that might have been installed by a previous homeowner. If it's on the edge of the roadway, it's in the public right of way, it's very clearly ours.
When I moved in 20 plus years ago, I found it underneath leaves and everything, and I was like, oh, what's this? And they're like,
In your yard.
in my front yard.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that was probably installed by a previous homeowner and tied into our system.
Everyone was like, oh. And then ironically, 2 years ago, I think, maybe a couple years ago, Millcreek sewer, and I said, well, can someone come up and clean it out? They're like, oh, it's on our agenda. Oh, okay. Just recently, they came up with the vacuum truck
Yeah,
thing
back
to
there,
suck
yeah.
it all out. And they were like, oh, wow, this looks really nice. You did all this. I'm like, I did. And they were like very nice workers. They did a great job. They came out and sucked it out. Mine's working great. But I took the time, though, from my property, through High Street, to drain the water into the storm sewer. Because actually, when I first moved in, it was running into my driveway, and someone had installed, probably a prior homeowner, a pipe about like so. And when it would rain, the road would run down my driveway and shoot out the back into my backyard like a waterfall.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Okay, we'll get this looked at then there, yeah.
so,
Yeah,
I would just, my point of thought is maybe we need to, increase maybe the preventative maintenance.
Absolutely, and that's something we're actually discussing. I mentioned earlier, we're doing a comprehensive plan for the township. That's actually one of the focus areas of one of our chapters.
And I wasn't criticizing you guys, just so.
Oh, you should criticize
As an
us.
example.
You
We need to kick in the
you should be
pants once in a
critical.
while.
And I think, and it sounds silly, but I also, like I said, I need to lose weight. So I've been actually walking my neighborhood quite a bit and picking up aluminum cans and stuff. My theory is, keep the neighborhood clean and it helps.
Absolutely.
And,
Appreciate that.
And as I've been walking around the neighborhood, it's just one of those things I've noticed. It's kind of like, wow, that really is falling apart. What a, that's a shame that you guys spent such time and effort to fix
Right.
the road, to have it get ruined.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, appreciate your comments.
Any further comments or questions or concerns from the audience? All right. Anything else for the good of the order, gentlemen?
Nothing from me.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'll move at 10:50 a.m.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
You're watching the Millcreek Government Channel, powered by WQLN Public Media.